Morning guys, Mark Fresh, Protect Dog Training. Gonna do a little walk around property with Dobbie, the fear biter. Now he came in and was very apprehensive and very insecure as far as letting me pet him, and had a lot of aggression based on his previous history. From what I could figure out, all you're doing is making an educated guess based on the dog's body language and their behaviors as to what happened to him. And so what I figured, that he was on the street and he learned to basically stab after the food in a way of trying to stay away from people, and people were trying to do the dog a favor and trying to catch him. And that body language, that whole image from the person to him, kind of burned into his brain. Keep in mind that dogs, there's a book out there of I can't think of the name of the person that's a very well-known behavioralist that deals with a lot of different, I think it's Temple Grandin. She talks about pictures, right? The dog sees in pictures. There's one famous author that really did a whole book on body language and showing you the dog's body language and how they relate to each other, because they don't communicate with a verbal, everything's with body language, right? So dogs see in pictures, meaning that memory and images of things are burned into their brain. So that being the case, they remember these things. So he remembered that body language of handing him food and trying to coax him into that target hand was very similar to him, where he thought of a person trying to give him food on the street, and he was going to stay away from that people. And if they were handing him a hot dog or trying to hand him some food, he was stabbing towards the food with his teeth, and learned to have aggression, because that's natural for a dog, to try to drive that thing that they fear away from them and try to get what they need to survive, which is the food. So he was leading with his teeth, okay, with a lot of aggression, sound, and stabbing at the food. So that behavior is in him. He has a tendency to use his teeth more than anything else. And I've got him calmed down now, where he's taking the food a lot less aggressively and using a lot less of his teeth, but he still has a tendency to. So what I wanted to talk about and accent with this video is that so much of this is reliant on the owner, because this stuff is not going to go, it's not poofed. I can't just blink and I dream a genie and say poofed, it's solved. Everybody wants to think that way when they're talking behaviors, and they think training, going to go to a trainer and this is going to be solved overnight. It's not. It takes time. So now, as I've got him a good baseboard of communication going, he understands no, good, and yes. We have him having a bond with me. I have gotten in the dog's head. Think of me as kind of like a psychologist. I know where the dog's head's at. I know who he is as an individual and personality-wise. So now I can counsel the owners and let them see what I've done with him and where I'm at with him, so they can keep following through and keep working with the animal. And working with me, we can get this to dissipate and get better and better as time goes along. Will he ever be a different dog? No, he's always going to be affected by that imprint, just like anybody would of a child that had trauma in their life. A lot of people are going to psychologists for years, okay? This isn't something that he'll sit down and stay, and I talk about that all the time. Dog's an emotional creature, and his emotions are what we're dealing with, and trying to give him a different framework of where his head's at within relationship to the world around him, right? That's why it is so important to do what you need to do to imprint puppies, to establish the way that they think of things and how they view the world. That's what you're doing when you're imprinting a puppy. When you're working with a young dog, their mind is very malleable. They're like a piece of clay, if you know what you're doing. And that critical development period that you hear us talking about all the time is very important, okay? So from birth to about 6 months is really when it really sets in. But even then, to about a year and a half of age, that whole young adolescent, young dog is where you're going to be able to get the most development and get it set in stone, and how this dog views the world and their outlook, I guess is the word I'm looking for, in life, right? So again, back to my whole points of view. A dog is a product of two things. He's a product of his breeding, his genetics, and who he is genetically as that breed of dog. But more importantly, and all the more, just as important, if not more so, is environmental, that you establish the way that the dog views the world, and you imprint. That's why we use food. The dog has a food drive. That's something we can use. If you got toy drive and you get in there and you play with toys, you have that to be able to use in manipulating the dog's behavior and be able to create the behaviors that we want in the animal. And that's what most people think of. They think of dog training as behaviors. And it's true, we want behaviors. We want the dog to work and to do things for us. But at the same time, if I don't have the dog's emotional states of mind in the right place, and the dog's not stable as far as how he views the world and how he reacts to the world around him, then you're always going to be working with it. And that's what you get when you get a rescue. So many people want to go rescue a dog. And it's admirable, but you're going to live with that dog's problems for the rest of his life, okay? You didn't start out with a clean slate. You started out with something you need to fix. And a lot of people are that way, human nature, to try to want to save an animal, save the world. You know, I mean, this whole thing, emotional part of us that we want to nurture. We want to help, oh, the poor little animal. And that's what these rescues play on. They're making more money than us trainers, believe it or not, rescues. They bounce these dogs all over the place. And what you have is you have a dog that's basically always going to be scarred as far as what you're dealing with and who they are, okay? You're not going to get a dog like you see me coming out and doing demos with my demo dogs like Joker or Buddy and showing off. Those dogs have been imprinted and worked since they've been a puppy in how they view the world and how they look at the world. That's what training is to me, okay? It's more so than he'll sit down, stay. Training behaviors, guys, is easy. I can take a piece of food, get a dog to do anything. That's like a circus animal, right? That's not what I care about. I care about where that dog's emotional standing in the world and how he views the world or she views the world, and what is their nature based on their breeding, based on their genetics, right? The genetic stamp that's there with them all the time. But at the same time, what is this emotional aspect of this dog as far as dealing with it? Like Dobbie here, he's a rescue, and he had a rough start in life in the very beginning, right? So it's very important. And now what you see me doing, walking proper, I'm not expecting anything with him. This is bonding. This is just us being together. Huh, Dobbie? Huh? Dobbie, with me. Good boy, good. Yeah, good boy. Yeah, that's my boy. That's my boy. Yeah, good boy. Nope. Nope. Good. And Dobbie's had a lot of nurturing. You can see it, because he really gets into cuddling and wanting to be in your lap and all that. Remember that you can over coddle a dog. You can give him too much love, and that foo-foo is not going to do anything to teach him to be a strong dog. It's good. It's really nice for you to be able to love on an animal, and that fulfills your psychological needs. But what about the dog, right? We want to build strength. We want to, so I've got a little bit of a tough love type of an attitude, because we want this dog to be a strong dog. We don't want him to be a weak, coddling dog that I have to coddle all the time. People don't realize that they create that monster, right? What kind of dog do you want? What do you want in a dog, right? You want a little couch potato, and that's all you want is to nurture an animal? Then you'll have a neurotic mess is what you'll have. Because if you give a dog too much love like that and you nurture them too much, you can ruin a dog. And I see them all the time. I've had a lot of dogs come through that we've had this discussion before, right? All right, Mark Farashi, Protect Dog Training, just with Dobbie yakking at the screen. He's got about another week or so to go, and I've got a lot of insight to be able to give the owners and a lot of baseboard to be able to hand them off. But there's a lot more work to do. This dog probably will always have aspects that he has within him that are based on his trauma that he had in life in the very beginning. So the owner's knowledge and their ability to understand it and to come at it from the same angle that I do, which is all about psychology of the animal. Strength. I want a dog that's strong, that's confident. That's going to give me the stability that I need, that I can do anything with a dog. If not, I'm always fighting. I'm always chasing the dragon, so to speak, trying to overcome this dog's trauma that he had. As a young dog, right? And that's created who he is, that we're probably always going to have to deal with, right? Dobbie is not going to be a robot. He's not going to be a... So I'm trying to accent this to make you guys realize what I always try to profess, which is dog training is not just heel, sit down, stay. I can go out and do all these fancy sports and go out and do all that stuff and get good at it and make myself look good. But when you start with a fresh mold and you condition an animal like that, it's not that it's not admirable. It is. There's a lot of respect that goes out to numerous trainers. And then one comes into my head right away. It's one of the top sport dog trainers in the LA basin, comes to mind right away, and that's admirable. I mean, I look at it and say, man, it'd be kind of cool if I could go out and do that, but I don't like it because I don't like the human factor that's involved in any sport. Doesn't matter what sport you have, child sport, tennis, baseball, whatever. We have the human factor that's involved with it, and then you get politics and you get humans bouncing off each other, and that to me is not something I enjoy. I care about the dog, and I care about educating my customer in relationship to dog psychology and how their relationship is key, right? All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.